The Ribble Valley lodges are owned by the adjacent dairy farm and managed by Ho Seasons Holidays. This is where we stayed during our trip around the Ribble Valley. Brockhole Village is an unusual gated community built by property tycoon Gerald Hitman on the site of a former hospital. His original £2 million home in the village is called the Old Zoo, with 17 acres of land containing over 100 sculptures. It's a short walk to the tiny village of Old Langho, with St Leonard's Church and the Black Bull pub. St Leonard's Church is a redundant Anglican church built in 1557. It's rare as few churches were built during the reign of Mary I. The stonework and fittings probably came from the dissolved Wally Abbey. It's Grade 1 listed and under the care of the Church's Conservation Trust. Just next door is the Black Bull, built in the 1500s. It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? Just off Whalley Old Road in Langho are these two tin men. Let's make sure that bull's not around. I've searched for information about these two fellas, but with no success. I don't know who built them or why. Sainsbury Hall is open to the public every day except Mondays, Saturdays and occasional Fridays when it's closed for weddings. There's also a café and a restaurant. These colourful shepherd's huts are available for hire. Sainsbury Hall was built in 1325 by Gilbert de Southworth, and it was the primary home of the Southworth family until early 17th century.
See you, have a lovely day. Alright. See you later.
The hall was purchased in 1925 and put in the hands of the Sainsbury Hall Trust. It's been many things in its past, including a public house and a girls' boarding school. This is Our Lady of the Avenue, erected in 1882. It was inspired by the statue on the Colonna della Immacolata in Rome, I nearly said it, celebrating the declaration of the Immaculate Conception. It's inscribed with the words Ave Maria. The figure stands on a globe which is decorated by the symbols of the four evangelists. Stonyhurst is a 1,000-acre rural estate owned by the Society of Jesus. It's centred on Stonyhurst College, occupying the Great House, Preparatory School, St Mary's Hall and St Peter's Parish Church. Hey up, domestic. Grade 1 listed Stonyhurst College. It's open for tours during the summer. The Church of St Peter is the parish church for the neighbouring village of Hurst Green. Millie's Cafe, well worth a visit. Sawley Abbey are the remains of a Cistercian Abbey founded in 1148. Although never wealthy, the abbey survived for 400 years. When an abbey in Cheshire was refounded at Whalley, 9 miles from Sawley, the two Cistercian houses immediately quarrelled. Their lands adjoined and they squabbled over grain supplies and fishing rights in the River Ribble. Sawley Abbey was included in the initial group of monasteries ordered to be suppressed by Henry VIII in 1536 during the dissolution of the monasteries. During the following 3 centuries, all the high-quality stone was taken and reused in neighbouring farms and cottages. Many of the abbey buildings disappeared. Ahead is Sawley Lodge, owned by the Bannister family of Boundary Mill Stores. A circular walk from Mill Lane Bridge by the River Ribble, through Gisburn Park Estate, into the village, along the A59 and back down Mill Lane. But first, I've been trying to find the way to this picnic table. Here it is. From here, we follow the Pennine Bridleway to Gisburn Park and Country House. Sika Deer were brought over to Gisborne from Ireland by Thomas Lister. In 1985, Gisburn Park House was converted to become a private hospital. In 2003, the 1,000-acre park was handed down to Guy Hindley. He converted the hospital and area to a wedding venue, restaurant, bar, glamping village with holiday lodges. In 1612, Janet Preston was accused of witchcraft. She was found guilty and hanged at York Knavesmere. Heading down Mill Lane, there are plenty more walks to be had as the Pennine Bridleway crosses this road. Back to the lonesome picnic table. We stopped at the Nick of Pendle, just outside Sabden. This is part of a project by Clitheroe Youth Forum to honour the 25 people killed in 15 separate air crashes between 1940 and 1949 in the Ribble Valley. A few yards further on is the Pendle ski slope, a 170-metre dry ski slope. It's membership owned and run completely by volunteers. Alongside the ski club is the Wellsprings Restaurant and Bar, a Spanish and Mexican inspired menu with a tapas bar. This is St Nicholas Church, built in 1846. The church hall was once the national school. Churnclough Reservoir, built in the late 1800s. It's used now for fishing, but there's a good footpath around it. Fabric printing and weaving mills along Sabden Brook were the main industries of the 18th and 19th centuries. I'm not sure what to make of this place. It's certainly quirky, and there are gardens, although there's a large rope around them to deter you from entering. We entered the Glasshouse Cafe for lunch. Unfortunately, the menu came without any prices. I'm a northerner, and I like to know how much I'm going to pay, so we left. The gardens are surrounded by various unusual shops, such as Maison de la Monde, Pink Olive and Stately Secrets, although most were closed. The area is filled with odd antique ornaments everywhere you look. Whalley, on the banks of the River Calder, filled with historic buildings, cafes and restaurants. The ruins of Wally Abbey, a 14th century Cistercian Abbey. I have made a longer video about Wally Abbey. On Holcombe Hill in Bury, there once stood a cross where pilgrims prayed and rested on their way to Wally Abbey. The Church of St Mary and All Saints, mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086. Most of the present church was built in the 13th century and a tower was added in the 15th. To finish, a quick look inside the Ribble View lodges.